So about character mapping or making character webs and character functions. We talked a little bit about it in our first lesson when this course started, and I wanted to talk a little bit more now. So how much did we talk about character groupings like triangles and pairs? Do you remember? No matter. Let's jump into it. So when I write my own stories or when I analyze other people's stories, I usually look for triangles and pairs and try to group them accordingly, because they usually work pretty well that way. And also because that kind of, when you have a triangle constellation, it always stays in balance. I think I talked about that last time as well when I was talking about this. So here are some possible character combinations that can be used. So often if you have an adventure story or an ensemble, then you might have as well many as 5 or even 7 characters. So you can, of course, divide the 7 into a couple of pairs and trios, and which are overlapping pretty often. So I think most of you have noticed these kinds of structures before, like you have 2 guys and a girl, or 2 girls and a guy. Or you can have one character who's young, another one who's middle-aged, and the third one would be old. Or you could have your protagonist, antagonist, and somebody in the middle. Often it might be the love interest, or somebody who resembles the love interest, which they both love. And then, or you would have a hero. In the pairs, you could have a hero and her or his foil. Foil means a kind of mirror. Or there could be a hero and an ally, or hero and helper, could be an animal. Or this is a typical combination that you have somebody who's a rookie and somebody who's old and experienced. Well, I wrote warrior, but it doesn't have to be a warrior, obviously. And of course, the obvious thing in pairs is to have a couple who are married in some sense. Or you have buddies. So the couple can be any way at all. In comedy, it's often the straight guy and the funny guy. Yeah, so here are some ways of dividing. If you have 6 characters, for instance, then one could be the outsider and the other 5 are more closely knit together. So for good reference for 7s, you could watch the classic movies, The Seven Samurai by Akira Kurosawa. How many of you have seen it, or has anybody seen The Seven Samurai, the original movie?
I have. It's really good.
Mm-hmm. It's a bit long, but really good. And it's also interesting how much time is used to just gathering this ensemble of 7, that you really get to know each one of them. So there's a movie recommendation if you're interested. And also, of course, the 7 dwarfs in the Disney Snow White in the original one. That's interesting. And also, if you read a little bit about the backgrounds about the 7 dwarfs, what were the alternative names and personalities for the dwarves. I mean, many of those personalities are more like, I mean, to modernize, they look more like descriptions of their illnesses. I mean, Sneezy is obviously asthmatic or allergic, and so on. So it's not that much a personality, but it was an innovation to have these 7 dwarf characters as 7 distinctly different people or personalities, instead of all of them being more or less the clone of one character, which previous illustrators had done with the fairy tale. And it made the movie also funnier that way, and then more interesting. Okay, there's a little bit more about the Freudian trio. So there's it's still used in for instance Star Trek. So that you can have so the Freudian trio is supposed to be the one character, but in storytelling we can divide it into 3. That we have the ego, who is more or less the person themselves, or somebody who has like common sense. Then there's the super ego, who's the conscience and the rules, the Spock character, so to say. And then we have the id, who stands for emotion and instinct. And then we have the another kind of trio, which it comes from Fraser's Golden Bough. So the triple god theory. We have in the middle, we have the hero, and then we have death, that stands for winter, and life and regeneration, that stands for summer. So these could be also 3 different characters. Even Freud and a colleague of his called Sabina Spielrein, they had this idea of the libido, or a person's sexual instinct, being divided in 2 parts. The thanatos, which is basically the urge of destruction or the urge of death, and then eros, which is the urge to life, and that they go together. And you can use this also for thinking about your like singular characters, how to build them up. So in some character, the urge for destruction might be stronger or strong, and in the other one, it might be the urge for life or protecting life. It could be dominating, and they could be 2 competing characters, the protagonist and the antagonist, in a way. And talking about more about the like triple things or double things, I think last time I mentioned the animus and anima by Jung, where there's the male principle and the female principle. So there are many ways of dividing these, and none is added on its own better or worse than the other. It's only up to you which tool you will use. So all of these are tools for you. I think we talked about the Jungian archetypes already, and also the archetypes by story purpose. So these are partly taken from Campbell's monomyth or the hero's journey, and they have also been used in a way in early American radio plays from the 1920s and 30s, so that you have the protagonist and there's an ally, and then there's the love interest, and usually the antagonist also wants the love interest, and the ally or one of them might be the so-called weak character who can be swayed. So it could be a false friend. If you watch very old Mickey Mouse cartoons, they will also reflect this like basic thing. Like Mickey Mouse is the like hero, but he's he's a mouse and he's not so strong. And then there's a big, strong, usually cat character who wants to have many and kidnaps Minnie Mouse, and Mickey has to go and save Minnie. And then it's fun to watch how he does it, despite being the weaker one. Okay, so I think I've already talked about the foil and mirror, and the mentor and guardian. They come from the hero's journey, as well as the messenger character has been used also for a long time, also by Shakespeare. And these three are the Freudian trio: reason, emotion, and the skeptic. And we have the trickster and shadow here as well. The trickster can be also the shapeshifter, and the mentor and fool. Okay. Oh, okay. The four temperaments used to be like a big thing in the Western world before the 19th century or the 1800s, and they went. I mean, they were still going strong in the 1700s, but then they became not so popular anymore, because people realized, or medicine realized, that it wasn't actually founded on anything but thinking and how people thought things were, but they weren't really. But if you know, for instance, the series Avatar, the animated series, so you probably recognize some of these things here. So the basic theory goes that every human personality can be divided between these four temperaments, which are like water, air, earth, and fire. And then there are also the like combinations of these temperaments. And and here are also that these are the more that it goes from stable to unstable, although, and from introvert to extrovert. So, but however, I think I've mixed up these. So I think the Earth should be in the more stable place than here. And well, also now that we are in the 21st century, people are talking a lot about introverts and extroverts, and that seems to be really important to some people. But yeah, you can use this also as a tool for your characters if it feels good. Then before I go more into the character web, I want to show you one more place, one more tool that you could use. This is called Commedia dell'arte, but it was a style of theater or street theater actually. It started in Italy in the, I think, 1500s or a little bit earlier maybe. I think 1500s is about right. And but it's based on these older character types from the antiquity. So you can read the Wikipedia article on it if you want to. It's quite good. And it's still used for sitcoms, for instance, but it has to be used wisely, of course, because if you compare these character types with the older ones in the Roman plays, for instance, then you notice that many of them are pretty old or old-fashioned, but there can be some interesting stuff there as well. And you can use this badly and make stereotypes out of them, or use them wisely and use them as archetypes. And what I like here is that any of these characters can be chosen to be the protagonist. So here are some examples of the Commedia dell'arte types. Harlequin is the one with this guy with the black mask and the colorful outfit. Most of these characters, by the way, had masks. In this painting, only Harlequin has one, and I think also Harlequin has taken his mask off. And only the innamorati, the lovers, didn't have masks. But here, you can see from here that it didn't always apply to all plays. Then Colombina is typically the beloved of Harlequin, and Harlequin is often like a crafty servant character who's not exactly he's crafty, but he's not a criminal. But then, for instance, Brighella is a criminal and a thief, and if he's a servant character, then he's a thieving servant, and maybe he's also trying to take Colombina from Harlequin. So there are many triangles that can be used here. Pulcinella is a little bit like Pierrot, actually. They are both dressed in white, but in their personality they are a little bit different. Pierrot is more of a fool, like a fool that is naive but nice, and he can be fooled and made fun of. The Namrati are the star-crossed lovers who will get each other at the end of the play usually, and they can be the daughter and son of one of the older characters. So typically in Commedia dell'arte play, there are characters of different ages. There are the middle-aged characters, the young characters, and then there are the really old characters. So the doctor can be also a professor or somebody who's learned and quite high up in hierarchy. And he can be really old or he can be middle-aged. So here, this might be the typical doctor character here. The captain is usually like faking to be brave, but he's not. And sometimes, by the way, the doctor can also be a fake doctor. Like he might be really famous, but what he's selling is only fakes, or what he's giving is fake. Then Signora is like the middle-aged, crafty woman who is often maybe the wife of the doctor or the wife of Pantalone, who is Pantalone, by the way, is a like rich businessman, rich and old or rich and middle-aged. Could be also the father of one of the innamorati, and so on. So there are, well, not all of the characters are there in all the plays. So it gives a lot of sort of freedom to think about different kinds of combinations. So, but as I said, there's a lot more to read in Wikipedia alone on Commedia dell'arte if this interests you. But I thought this would be good to add at this point. If you are having trouble finding your characters, for instance, for the main task. I've tried this out myself a couple of times, starting out from Commedia dell'arte characters and trying to see where it takes me, and also changing, of course, the genders as I see fit, and so on. I mean, it doesn't say anywhere that the doctor has to be a male character or Harlequin could be female. Actually, the Colombina character usually has the same kind of outfit than Harlequin. So they are each other's foils in a way. Okay, so that was Commedia dell'arte. Let's go a few steps back into character webs. This could be also called a character map. Here's like an example of how like a school of bees could be written as a map between these different characters. So we have the protagonist, whose name is surprisingly enough, B. And then we have, I think her best friend is B. who's not a real bee, but a fake bee. There are fake bees. And bees worst enemy or antagonist is called Wanda the Wasp, but bee thinks that they are friends, but Wanda knows that they are enemies. So they are kind of frenemies. And then we have this friend, Danny the drone, who constantly needs advice. And we have Bumblebee, who's a male Bumblebee, who's the janitor in the school. And he's a kind of mentor here. And then we have the principal, who's an older character who favors Wanda and doesn't like Bee. And he is also now and future, so that's actually quite important to remember in all kinds of character relationship mappings, that the constellations should be kept in imbalance. I mean, the best and widest novels and longest going TV series, they rely on the imbalance of friendships. Okay, and here are some of the tips I wrote for drawing this kind of character map. That you begin with writing the name of the protagonist, or if it's an ensemble, then you write all of them, or the protagonist and their close people, and then connect them with lines and arrows, depending on the relationship. And you can use different visuals for each of these connecting lines, and also mark the functions of each character in the story. So basically, if they are like who's a friend and who's an enemy, who's an antagonist, and is somebody a mentor, and so on. And then the how the relationships change. That's the important point. And overlapping pairs and trios are pretty important too. Yeah, and there's a warning that just remember that these are tools. So if your mind goes somewhere else, so don't so let it go where it wants. Okay, let's go to the internet now, or maybe to Photoshop. So all of you remember Harry Potter, I take it? Who's the main character of Harry Potter? So, surprisingly enough, it's Harry. Okay, we have Harry, and who are his best friends? Give me some.
Ron and Hermione.
Exactly. Let's draw them out. So we have Ron and we have Hermione. And surprise, surprise, we have a triangle here. So how would you describe the relationship with between Harry and Hermione? Any suggestions?
Well, they're like really good friends and almost like brother and sister like relationships.
Yes.
She's sort of like the learned one and also the helper, I guess, to Harry.
Hermione or Ron?
Yeah. Hermione.
I would also say that Hermione is kind of motherly towards both of them.
I think also Hermione looks a bit down on the other two because of her knowledge.
Yes, she's the wise one in a way. She knows a lot of things, and she's also the one who gets straight A's from all the subjects at school, isn't she? So do we have some sort of Freudian trio that where Hermione is the logic and the sense, and Ron is more the sensibility and the feelings? Could that be right?
I mean, I guess it also depends if we are talking like book Ron or book or movie Ron. But yeah, I think that there is more of that sort of temperamentalness in Ron, or sort of like that he shows more of doing things with his emotions, and then Hermione like does logical thinking.
Doing things instinctively.
Yeah.
And of course, if you know Ron or remember Ron's family, they are also very, in a way, chaotic. Let's say. Okay, what about we do have other characters, of course. It's a very large cast here. So who's the main antagonist to Harry?
Tom Riddle. Lord Voldemort.
Of course, Voldemort. And in a way, he also is a foil to Harry, because they have a lot of common things, although it's partly by accident. Like they both can understand snake tongue, and they have these linked magic wands. They have a sort of link together, which Harry despises and Voldemort despises as well. So I'm drawing these. So maybe that was too nice. So let's make And I'll use another. Maybe you use blue for these. Do we have, by the way, a love interest or love interests?
Well, between Ron and Hermione, and at some point Ron is also jealous at Harry and Hermione because he thinks that they would have a relationship or that they would be interested in each other.
But Hermione and Ron become a couple in the end. So let's make a big heart here. But there is a love interest for Harry as well. Ginny, right?
Yeah, but earlier there was also Joe Chang. So, like, 2 people, I guess.
Yes, there are often many. And at first, but I'm taking Ginny because it's kind of interesting how Ginny is first shown as having a one-sided interest in Harry. Like she's in love with Harry, but Harry doesn't really understand it or doesn't want to be involved in any kinds of things like that. And it's only later that also Harry falls in love with Ginny. There, as you said, there are other love interests for Harry before that. But it takes time for the relationship to mature. And that is also something that is used a lot in stories, that you have one-sided love interests and that that the audience or readers will wait until to get if these two lovers get each other at the end or not. Then Voldemort has a love interest too. Do you remember who it was?
Bellatrix Lestrange.
Yes, but what about his well, I put Bellatrix here, but we have another bigger one.
Nagini or Nagini or
no.
I don't really think he has any. Like, it doesn't really show.
And it might be more of a sex interest than love interest that's going on between Voldemort and Bellatrix. What would you say? So it's okay. So what's the, by the way, what was the name of the principal? I'm forgetting.
You mean Dumbledore?
Dumbledore. Well, where am I forgetting Dumbledore? Yeah. We have Dumbledore. What's his relationship to Harry?
He is his mentor, I would say.
Okay. Let's draw a green mentor line here. Wasn't he also the mentor of Voldemort originally? Like he found Voldemort as an orphan boy and so on.
Yes.
So there's one more thing that where Harry and Voldemort are similar. So they have both had Dumbledore as their mentor. Although I would also say that Voldemort and Dumbledore had a love affair, although in the books it was only told like between the lines.
I don't think so, because like Dumbledore has a thing with like Grindelwald, which is like not so in the Harry Potter books, but the Fantastic Beasts. So I don't think Dumbledore and Voldemort like work in that case.
Okay, so that's a thing that can be discussed if there's any or not. So like a question mark. I'll make it. So what is this? Is there love or not?
I mean, I think he was more of like a father figure to Voldemort, because like, Voldemort was, you know, so like so young when they knew each other.
Yeah. So maybe it's father's love. And there's also some sort of father relationship going on here with Harry, although he tries to be a little bit far away. But who was this guy in Germany or somewhere with whom Dumbledore had a love affair? This who was in many of the movies that came after in the Fantastic Beasts, with which he shared this special bond. The Nazi guy. It doesn't matter. Anyway, if we would continue this mapping, then we would also get the other students besides these four, and also the other teachers, and map them out how they are connected to each other, and see that also the relationships are in constant change at all times, which makes it interesting. So I'll go back to here and open up Peanuts, which we looked at some point a couple of weeks ago. So here's two characters who are friends, for instance, Peppermint Patty, and then we have Marcy, and they are friends, yes, but their relationship is always on the move, and they are also very different kinds of characters. Marcy is always trying to get and also getting very good grades at school, but she is very bad at sports, and Peppermint Patty is really good at sports, but doesn't understand anything about school, really. Like here, she has gone to this what she thinks is a private school, and she has got a diploma, but it's you can see that the name of the school is Ace Obedience School. So she has gone actually to a school for dogs without noticing. And here's another relationship that keeps changing in Peanuts. There's Snoopy and his best friend, what was it? Woodstock, yes, the bird. So Woodstock is much younger than Snoopy, and Snoopy sometimes acts kind of like a mentor, but mostly he's just a good friend. But it sometimes also happens that Woodstock, well, who has bird friends, that they sometimes come as a big group to Snoopy's house and take it over to play games, which annoys Snoopy. But then sometimes Woodstock acts as Snoopy's secretary when Snoopy's writing his novels. So here's Peppermint Patty in the dog obedience school. So let's take a random strip. Let's see. So here we have Charlie Brown and Lucy. So their relationship is also always in some sort of imbalance. So sometimes Charlie Brown he's the older character, and he's leading the baseball team, but so here he is in the position of authority somehow, but sometimes the roles go the other way around because Lucy has her own psychiatric booth where Charlie Brown goes to tell her about his life's problems. So there Lucy takes the dominating role where she is giving advice to Charlie Brown. And their friendship they are good friends. But there is also love between them. Although Lucy is not an easy person, also she's not an easy person to show it. So at some point in the series, Charlie Brown has to go to the hospital where he has to stay for a week or so, and Lucy becomes so upset that she can't sleep, and she goes outside the hospital in the middle of the night and tries to yell at the sickness so that the sickness will leave Charlie Brown. But she never would tell that to Charlie Brown how much she really cares. But she really does. So when I was a kid and I read these comics, I always thought that Lucy was just a bully, but she's actually not. Okay, here's a Lucy from the early 1960s, where she is acting like the little kid she is, and she's getting this tantrum. Okay, and so I'm just taking random strips here, and they all are actually reflecting the basic premise of the series that went on for over 50 years. So here we have Lucy and Schroeder, where there's a one-sided love relationship. Well, Schroeder loves the music of Beethoven, and he is also a fan of Beethoven. He at some point goes to Germany with his family to visit the Beethoven house and so on. And Lucy is in love with Schroeder, but she doesn't like Beethoven because she senses Beethoven is between them. Also, she has no idea about music in general, which annoys Schroeder, of course. And Lucy is always trying to get Schroeder on a date or have him give her flowers, but well, he never does. So it's a one-sided relationship. Even the relationship between Charlie Brown and his dog, Snoopy, is not without troubles. I'd say that Charlie Brown loves Snoopy a lot, but Snoopy doesn't really love Charlie Brown, although he, of course, acknowledges that he's Charlie Brown's dog. But in some strips, we find out that Snoopy was owned by another child called Lila, and when Lila gets sick and sends a letter to Snoopy, Snoopy must go to the other side of the country to visit Lila, which makes Charlie Brown a bit jealous. Okay, here we can see Snoopy in one of his adventures. Here the friends of Woodstock have, in a way, overwhelmed him. Okay. '55, you can also see how different the drawing style becomes. And yeah, Linus, the little brother of Lucy, is Charlie Brown's best friend, by the way, and both he and Lucy often act as critics to Snoopy. So here Snoopy is doing something, and typically we have Linus here saying that, okay, that's not an Olympic event. And this was probably at the time when the Winter Olympics were coming up in 1982. As I said before, there are lots of sports related strips in the Peanuts because Charles Schulz really liked sports. Here, this instead of Linus, we could just as well have Lucy, I think. And yes, here, for instance, Lucy is criticizing Snoopy for her turn, taking her turn. And in the 1970s and 1980s, just as the Peanuts comics seem to be becoming stale, Charles Schulz created a score of new characters, one of which was Spike, the brother of Snoopy, who lives in the middle of the desert. And sometimes we can see his lonely life in the desert, and sometimes he comes to visit Snoopy, and sometimes Snoopy goes to visit him. And Schulz also invented a couple of sisters and also showed their mother at some point. And they all found Snoopy to be like a very peculiar type. And there was a big change in Schultz's life. I've read in the 1970s he got a divorce and married a new woman, so that might have also been like an inspiration somehow, because his life changed. He also decided to change his comic. And here we have Sally Brown, who's Charlie Brown's sister. Yes, Sally was the last character I wanted to show here. So Linus and Lucy are siblings, and Charlie Brown and Sally are also siblings, and so in a way there are the two pairs who act as foils to each other. So with Lucy and Linus, Lucy is the more dominating one and also the bullying one. But with Charlie Brown and Sally, well, Charlie Brown is the big brother, so he would have the opportunity to be a bully to his little sister, but that never happens. Instead, Sally tries to dominate Charlie Brown, but doesn't really succeed. So their relationship is also in the move, changing all the time. And yes, by the way, Snoopy has like this one-sided crush on Lucy. Here we go. And he tries to sneak up on Lucy on different occasions and kiss her. And usually Lucy smacks her in the face. Here she doesn't do it, but later on she does. So Lucy is very physical in her responses also. And actually the one-sided love affairs are really common, as I already said. Like Charlie Brown has this crush on the little red-haired girl, as you might know. But then both Peppermint Patty and Marcy have a crush on Charlie Brown, and Charlie Brown doesn't really know what to do about that. And by the way, Charlie Brown's sister Sally has a crush on Linus, who was the little brother of Lucy, and it's also one-sided. Okay, so now they are talking about men and women understanding each other. And every year, Charlie Brown is looking forward to getting Valentine's cards, but usually he doesn't get any. Here, for a change, he does get one, but it's just because one got left over, and he's taking it anyway. Okay, here we have Sally and Linus, and this is how their relationship starts. And Sally has also other kinds of love interests. She's also in love with the school building. And this is actually not so one-sided. As you can see, the school building also loves being loved by a small child. And it's actually a funny storyline where the school building gets depressed and then is well, he's crushed. Okay. So sometimes Snoopy is a little bit too nice to his bird friends, maybe. Okay, there's this love. Oh, and yes, Linus also has a lot of love interests. Mostly it's his teacher, Miss Othmar, but there are others as well. So love is one of the main themes in this series. So you can see that it was not made for as a children's comic in the first place. Okay, so yeah, I could continue talking about this for a couple of hours, but maybe I'll leave it at this. So let's have a break here.